Okay, so a cone. Highlight that. Okay. So the formula for a cone is very similar to the formula for a pyramid, kind of like how a cylinder was similar to a prism. So when we memorize these formulas, it's not like, oh, everything's different. Cylinder is similar to a prism, cone is similar to a pyramid. So I'm going to write that. This is for the sake of me memorizing this. So the volume for a cone is 1/3 times the area of the base multiplied by the height, which is exactly how we find the volume of a pyramid. Exactly the same. But with a cone, the area of the base is always going to be the same shape. What is it? A circle. And so what is the area of a circle? Pi r squared. So it's always going to be 1/3 times pi r squared times the height. So we can shorthand this. We can say 1/3 times capital B times H, if we want to shorthand that. All right. So for example 8, first we want to classify the figure. Anytime they say classify the figure, they just mean tell me what shape it is. So we're going to say this is a cone. And then find the volume. So first we're going to write the area of the base, so capital B. So the formula for the area of the base is the area of the circle, so that's going to be pi r squared. And then what is the radius for the circle in example 8? 7. So we're going to say pi times 7 squared. And what is 7 squared? 49. So the area of the base is 49 pi meters squared. Okay, so now we're going to go through and do the rest of it. The volume is 1/3 times the area of the base, 49 pi, times the height. What is the height of the cone? 9. Okay, so if I want the exact answer, I am not going to type in the pi, I'm only going to type in the numbers. So I'm going to do 1/3 times 49 times 9. 1/3 times 49 times 9, and what do you get? 47. Just 47? 147. So this equals 147 pi. And if we had meters squared times meters, it's going to be meters cubed. Okay, so this is the exact answer for the volume. If we want the approximate answer, we can do 147 pi and get the approximate answer. So the approximate volume is 461.814 meters cubed. They're both good answers. They're both accurate answers. It's going to be dependent on what the instructions say. If the instructions don't specify, then you can do either answer. So I will try in a test situation or a quiz situation, I will try to make sure that I specify which answer I want, just so that there's no confusion. But if I don't, then either answer will get you full credit. Yes? So you would say like exact or approximate? Yes, I would say write your answer in terms of pi. And if I say write your answer in terms of pi, that means there should be a pi in the answer, which means I want exact. Or take the answer and divide by pi. Yeah. Or I would say take your answer and write it in the decimal form, or round to the nearest thousandth or something like that, in which case it would mean plug the pi in, get the decimal. Yeah. Okay. All right. Last one, this is a sphere. So for this one, we don't memorize the formula as something about a base, something about a height. So this is the oddball formula where we just straight up memorize it. So a sphere is the same thing as a ball. Yes? 4/3 pi r cubed is the volume. So smart. 4/3 pi r cubed. So we have prism, cylinder, pyramid, cone. Those kind of follow a pattern. This is the one that's outside of the pattern. It's a 3D circle. That's what it is. 4/3 pi r cubed. Okay, so find the volume for this example. We have a sphere with a radius of 4. So with this one, we're just going to say the volume is 4/3 pi times 4 to the 3rd power. So if we want the volume in terms of pi, and actually, let's go ahead and write that in our notes so we know what the wording could be. So I'm going to put this wording here. I'm going to say in terms of pi, because that's what the instructions will say. For this one, I'm going to say rounded to the nearest thousandth. So in terms of pi is exact, rounded to the nearest thousandth is approximate. Okay, so we'll do the same thing for example 9. If I do the answer in terms of pi, I'm just going to type in 4/3 times 4 to the 3rd. And I'm not going to write 85.333 because if I write 85.333, what have I done? I've rounded my answer that's in terms of pi, so it's rounding but also exact, which is confusing. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to turn it into a fraction, and I'm just going to write 256/3. Now, some people, and this is a pet peeve of mine, but some people will still want you to do that rounded 85.333 pi answer, and it annoys me because it's exact but not exact. So I'm going to write aka 85.333 pi. And then I'm going to do angry face. It's not wrong.
No, it's wrong.
It's not wrong, it's just...
It's more wrong.
It's you're being inexact while trying to be exact. It's an oxymoron. It's an oxymoron. It's a moronic answer. I don't know.
Wrong, but it's morally wrong.
What are you trying to do here? Nobody knows. Goodness. You know what I'm saying? I feel very upset about it. It makes me feel upset. It makes me feel just as upset as when people say use 3.14 instead of pi. I'm like, there's a button! Just use the pi button! That's why I really emphasize button. To make you also feel annoyed. You're like, Miss Rice, just say button. You know? I mean, but there's a whole there's a button on your calculator. Just use the button on your calculator. It's easier than typing 3.14. Yes.
Pi is 3.
That is excessive. I'm not going to say that she's still single, but she probably is. Yeah, okay, let's move on. All right. So this is the exact answer. The approximate answer... Oh, nobody caught my typo. There's a typo and nobody said anything. Is that polite? That's like when you notice that the pilot is like flying into the ocean and you're like, well, they must know what they're doing. Okay, 256 thirds times pi. What's our approximate answer? Anybody? So it's a little bit more than 256. Oh, you're letting me be your calculator? You got one right in front of you, man.
I feel that.
Yeah, sometimes when I say, hey, let's calculate this, and I hear no clicking. That's unreasonable clicking. No, I can tell the difference. I can tell the difference.
Oh, it's like.
Mine's just a really quiet clicker.
No. No.
Well, am I clicking or no?
No, I already put the answer up. I'm already your calculator. I feel a little bit let down, to be honest. A little bit let down. All right. Now, do we need to write down some of the bases that we could have? Would that be good? Because I realize that some of them might not be on here. Did I do it in the video? So, triangular, square. I wrote that, right? Okay. I think. Okay, let's add one more at the top. I think that could be good. So let's go back to the very front. Let's add trapezoid. Oh, I just spelled trapezoid very wrong.
No vowels.
No vowels.
Trapezoid. Wordle yesterday. Yeah.
It's like a license plate.
Exactly.
I got today's Wordle in 3. I got it.
I don't know what that is.
Dude,
Wordle is?
even I know what Wordle is, even though I don't use it. Yeah, that's an analog. I mean, that's fair.
And there's like, there's everything now. Portals, that's one that a lot of people do.
Turtles.
Portal, like with a Q. Oh.
Okay, so go ahead and draw a little picture so you just know what all the letters are in the formula. So here's the little picture we're going to draw. This is a trapezoid. I don't anticipate this. This does not show up in the regular shapes we're going to work with, but it might show up somewhere, and I just don't want you to be surprised if there ends up being a trapezoid, okay? So the formula for the area of a trapezoid is 1/2 times the height times base 1 plus base 2. Or like a variation of that. Sometimes they say like they might say height times base 1 plus base 2 and the whole thing divided by 2. So there's like different variations of how they could write it, but it's like something like that, written like that. All right. Yeah. Mathematically, they're the same. They just might be written slightly differently. Okay, so that's a trapezoid. I think that's about all the different shapes that we kind of work with. Rectangular, triangle, square, and circle are the most common. So as long as you know those, and most of us know those just from math in general, just from like dealing with math stuff. Okay. We are going to do some class examples a little bit later in the period, but we're going to work with just those first. So let me go ahead and get this handed out. And then yeah, and then we'll do some practice first, and then we'll do some more notes. Okay. So for the next set of problems that are in your packet, a lot of them are problems where you might be given a volume and then you have to find a piece of information, or maybe they're just, you're given the information and you have to find the volume, but it's kind of like a wordy type problem. And most of them are multiple choice. Will you flip through and tell me if that's accurate? Most of them are multiple choice. Okay. So as you do this, I just wanted you guys to see some examples of what that might look like. Yeah, and that's why the rest of the packet, even though it's a thicker packet, there's not actually a ton of problems left after this. Because the multiple choice, like the way it was formatted, it just takes up a lot more space. Yeah. Okay, so if we look at example 1, it says, if the volume of a sphere is 4,500 pi units cubed, what is the radius of the sphere? So the first thing you're going to look at, don't ruin the punchline, man. The first thing you're going to do is figure out which volume formula we're using, and here they said we're using a sphere. So we're going to take the formula for the volume of a sphere, which is 4/3 pi r cubed, and you're going to set that equal to the volume that they gave you. So 4,500 pi. Yeah, so what I like to do first is I like to get rid of the pi on each side if the problem has a pi on each side. So we could think of it as like divide by pi, but we can just get rid of it. And then you could divide by 4/3 if dividing by fractions is comfortable for you, but you could also get rid of the fraction a different way. Multiply by 3/4. Or you could do it in 2 steps. You could multiply it by 3 and then divide by 4. All 3 of those ways are accurate. All of them would work. So if we multiply by 3/4, we are multiplying by the, starts with an R, reciprocal. We are multiplying by the reciprocal. Very good. So, yeah, 4,500 times 3/4 is what? 3,375. So 3,375. Okay. And then if we want to get the R alone, what do? Cube root. Okay, and then when we cube root, so we're going to hit math number 4 to get a cube root in there. Cube root of 3,375. What do we get? R equals 15. Okay.
I circled this answer.
That's fine.
I didn't swear.
That's
I
fine.
felt like the circle was necessary.
Yeah.
When it's little small things like this, I like to circle them.
Now, did you circle it or did you oval it? There you go.
I feel like circles really just.
I mean, we're doing a geometry unit. It just feels like we have to be more accurate with our language
You
now.
can do a perfect circle in their answer.
I'd be impressed.
Yes.
Challenge accepted.
Draw a sphere around your
I
answer.
do have protractors if you need. Beth's like sits there and for all her answers, she's like got the tools out and is like drawing circles.
Draw a sphere around. Oh, dude. That's actually really good.
Let me see. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. All right. Now, for the next one, I need you to discuss in your groups. Discuss. Okay, let's pronounce it right. It's fine. I'm not an English teacher, so it doesn't really matter. Grammar? But I've spoken the language for a long time. Let's move on. I want you to discuss in your groups, just looking at the shape, if we need to find the shaded region, how you think we could do that. Okay, so don't say it like out loud to the whole class, just talk in your groups. If we need to find the shaded part, what would your process be? Okay, so go ahead, discuss within your groups, take a moment. Okay, so when we discussed it, what did we decide? Okay, we're going to find the big pyramid, and then we're going to find the little pyramid, and then subtract. Okay, so I'm going to write big pyramid and small pyramid, because we definitely need to find their volumes separately. Okay, so the base of the big pyramid, let's look, it says capital B is 10, and it says square pyramid. What does square pyramid mean? The bases are squares. Okay, so capital B is 10, so that means that's 10 and 10. So what's the base of the big pyramid? 100. 10 by 10 is 100. Okay, and then we have volume. How do we find the volume of a pyramid? Okay, so 1/3 times the area of the base times the height. The height is h1, which is 20. Okay, so times 20. So the volume is 100 times 20, that's 2,000 divided by 3. So I just want to make sure I'm right. Ooh, that was a scary number. All right, 2,000 divided by 3 is what I'm going to use. I don't want to round this early in the problem. Okay, so we got that. What are the units on that? Inches cubed. Okay, perfect. All right, and then my small pyramid, the area of the base. So now we're using little b. So we have 6 and 6. So 6 by 6 is 36. And then somebody give Alex a cookie. That's what my dad used to always say whenever one of us did a good job with something.
All right.
Nobody ever had a cookie,
My
and I
mom
always felt
now owes
disappointed.
me cookies.
Yeah.
Your bank account has.
Oh, you could have got your
And I'd always be like, Dad, don't say that if you don't have a cookie. I want a cookie. Okay. 1/3 times the area of the base, and then what's the height? What's the height of the little triangle or the little pyramid? 12. Okay, 1/3 times 36 times 12 is 144 inches cubed. Did you say 4? Yeah, I'm taking the cookie back. Yes.
Your mom.
The height right here was labeled as H2, and then I just looked up here and it said H2 is 12. You're good. You're good. Yeah, they had the stuff up here. Now, the reason they're doing this is because they recycled this picture over and over and over again. And so they put the labels up here so they could just type them. Yeah. Okay, so now we've got this, and so now we're going to say big pyramid minus small pyramid equals shaded area. And I'm just writing this part because these are my notes, and I want to make sure that if I have to come back and look at my notes for something, I understand what I did. So now I can do 2,000 thirds minus 144. And the answers are written as a decimal, so I'm going to go ahead and write my answer as a decimal when I do this. I'm doing the calculations off screen so that you can't use me as your calculator. That's not directed at Bets, but it is. No, no, no. Oh, no. I know. Don't worry. Don't worry, they can be dropped on the ground. Ask me how I know. All right, well, what did we get? Perfect. Marvelous. Oh, maybe you should have been your own calculator more often. Oh. Your calculator did? It wasn't operator error? Oh, I see. I see.
Not how
Miss Rice, do you know what the root of all evil is?
What?
25.806. It's the square root of 666.
Oh, I see.